You've felt this before. You reach into your pocket for your wallet and it's not there. Or you check the table where you left your phone and find an empty space. For a split second, the world stops. Your stomach drops. You get a jolt of pure chemical panic. Then you find it in your other pocket or under a napkin. The relief is huge, but it doesn't feel good. It just feels like not feeling bad anymore. Now, imagine the opposite. You're walking down the street and you find a $100 bill on the ground. You look around, nobody's there. It's yours. That feels great. It's a rush. You tell your friends about it. You feel lucky for the rest of the day. But that feeling, that little spike of happiness, is a firefly next to the forest fire of panic you feel when you think you've lost the exact same amount. Why? It's the same $100. The math is identical. 100 gained should equal 100 lost. But it doesn't. Not even close. The pain of losing is always stronger than the pleasure of winning. And this isn't just a weird quirk of your personality. It's a fundamental operating principle of the human mind, a cognitive glitch so powerful it dictates everything from the stock market to the way you feel about your own life. For most of history, we just accepted this as common sense. Losing hurts. But in the 1970s, two psychologists at Hebrew University in Jerusalem decided to figure out exactly how much it hurts. Their names were Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, and their work would eventually win Kahneman a Nobel Prize in economics, even though he'd never taken a single economics class. In their groundbreaking 1979 paper, they laid out something they called prospect theory. And the experiment that proved it was painfully simple. They offered people a gamble. A coin flip. Heads, you win $150. Tails, you lose $100. Now, think about that for a second. The potential gain is 50% larger than the potential loss. Over time, if you took this bet again and again, you would come out way ahead. It is, by every mathematical and logical standard, a good bet. But most people refuse to take it. The thought of losing that $100 is so painful, so viscerally repellent, that even a 50% bigger potential gain isn't enough to make it feel worth the risk. Kahneman and Tversky ran dozens of variations of this experiment. And what they found over and over again was a consistent ratio. Psychologically, the pain of a loss is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. You have to be offered a potential win of at least $200 before the idea of losing 100 starts to feel like a fair trade. They gave this phenomenon a name: loss aversion. And once you see it, you start to see it everywhere. It's why investors hold on to losing stocks for far too long. Selling the stock would make the loss real. It would force them to admit they made a bad decision. So instead, they hang on, hoping it will recover, often riding it all the way down to zero. The pain of crystallizing the loss feels worse than the potential for even greater losses. It makes no sense, and yet it drives the global economy. It's also why free trials are so effective. A company gives you a piece of software or a streaming service for free for 30 days. You integrate it into your life. It becomes yours. Then, at the end of the month, they don't ask you to buy something new. They threaten to take away something you already have. Your brain doesn't frame this as a purchasing decision. It frames it as a loss. And you'll pay money to avoid that feeling. This one's even stranger. In 1990, Kahneman, along with economists Jack Netsch and Richard Thaler, ran an experiment that's now famous. They took a group of students and gave half of them a coffee mug, just a cheap university-branded mug. They then asked the students who got the mugs how much they would sell them for. The average answer was about $7. Then they asked the students who didn't get a mug how much they would be willing to pay for one. The average answer was about $3. It was the same mug, but the second it became your mug, its value more than doubled in your mind. Because selling it wouldn't be a gain. It would be a loss. Scientists call this the endowment effect. We don't value things in a vacuum. We value them from the perspective of what we already possess. But here's where it gets complicated, because there's a powerful argument that this isn't a cognitive bug at all. Mainstream biology actually has a pretty good answer for it. And honestly, it might be even more interesting. It's an argument from survival. For 99% of human history, we lived on the razor's edge of existence. We were hunter-gatherers in a world of scarcity and danger. Now imagine you're one of our ancestors on the African savanna. A good day means you find a bush full of berries. That's a gain. It's great. It means you eat well tonight. A bad day means a predator steals the food you've already gathered. That's a loss. And it might mean you and your family starve. For an organism living that close to zero, gains and losses are not symmetrical. A gain is an improvement. A loss is a catastrophe. Death. Your evolutionary line ends. From this perspective, our brains didn't develop a glitch. They developed a life-saving alarm system. We evolved to be hypersensitive to any potential loss because, for thousands of generations, a significant loss was the single greatest threat to our survival. Losing your territory, losing your food source, losing your status in the group, losing a child. These weren't just setbacks. They were existential threats. Our brains are wired to treat every loss like it's a matter of life and death because, for a very long time, it was. It's messy. It's irrational in our modern world of stock portfolios and coffee mugs. But it makes sense. So that settles it, right? We're just running on ancient survival software. Well, not quite. Because the evolutionary explanation assumes that our aversion to loss is a fixed, deep-seated instinct about survival. But what Tversky and Kahneman discovered next showed that it's not fixed at all. It can be completely manipulated, flipped on its head by something as simple as changing a few words. And this is where it gets truly unsettling. In 1981, they presented a now legendary thought experiment to a group of doctors. Imagine the US is preparing for the outbreak of an unusual Asian disease, which is expected to kill 600 people. 2 alternative programs to combat the disease have been proposed. In the first scenario, the doctors were given these choices. If Program A is adopted, 200 people will be saved. If Program B is adopted, there is a 1/3 probability that 600 people will be saved, and a 2/3 probability that no people will be saved. Faced with this choice, 72% of the doctors chose Program A. The sure thing. They wanted to save those 200 people for certain. They were risk-averse. Then they gave a second group of doctors the same problem, but framed differently. If Program C is adopted, 400 people will die. If Program D is adopted, there is a 1/3 probability that nobody will die, and a 2/3 probability that 600 people will die. Now, look closely. Program C is the exact same outcome as Program A. 200 saved means 400 die. Program D is the exact same outcome as Program B. The math is identical, but the language is different. This time, 78% of the doctors chose Program D, the gamble. Faced with the certainty of a loss, 400 people will die, they suddenly became risk-seeking. They would rather roll the dice on a catastrophic outcome than accept a definite loss. This is the part the evolutionary argument can't fully explain. Our fear of loss isn't a rigid, unchangeable instinct. It's a switch that can be flipped by a single word. When the outcome was framed as a gain, saved, people were cautious. When it was framed as a loss, die, they became reckless. This isn't just about money or mugs. This is about life and death, and our judgment is completely dependent on the story someone tells us. Our reference point for what counts as a loss isn't fixed at survival. It can be moved. And we don't even notice it happening. Think about what this means. It means that our most fundamental decisions about our health, our money, our relationships are being shaped not by the facts, but by the frame. The politician who talks about protecting our way of life from change is triggering loss aversion. The news report that focuses on jobs lost rather than jobs created is triggering loss aversion. The partner who says, "You'll miss me when I'm gone," is triggering loss aversion. We are navigating a modern world with a brain that is terrified of losing what it holds. But the definition of what it holds can be rewritten at any moment by anyone. It's why we stay in jobs we hate, because the fear of losing a steady paycheck feels more powerful than the potential gain of a happier life. It's why we cling to relationships that are failing, because the pain of losing the person we know feels worse than the possibility of finding someone better. We're not making rational calculations. We're just trying to stop the bleeding. That $100 bill you found on the street felt good. The one you lost from your pocket felt like a personal failure, a wound. It was never just about the money. It was about the story. One was a story of gain, a happy accident. The other was a story of loss, a hole in your world that you created. The bill is the same, the numbers are the same, but the stories couldn't be more different. And we are creatures of story, not of numbers. We think we're afraid of losing things. But what we're really afraid of is the feeling of having lost. And that fear is so powerful, it makes us build our lives around avoiding it, building walls not to keep danger out, but to keep what we have from getting away. We don't live in the world as it is. We live in the world as we're afraid it might become one loss at a time.